This is the JP-8000 from Roland. One of the synth that I probably know the most, that and the JV-2080, because I did teach that synthesizer for a lot of years. And today, that's what I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to talk about the JP-8000, one of the coolest synth that probably the 90s came up with. Roland was making this at the time. It was the early days of virtual analog. This synth was the probably the first time we saw the super saw, which, well, I'll explain and you'll listen and you'll hear what it sounds like. So this is also a crash course for anybody who gets a JP-8000 or a JP-8080 synthesizer used. Of course, they're not new. They're more than 20 years old now. Without further ado, we'll actually dive in and see what this thing does. The JP-8000 has a great keyboard. You have the LFO, oscillator common, oscillator 1, oscillator 2. I'm just going to go through the synthesis quite rapidly. You have oscillator common, which is common to the two synthesizer, two oscillators. You've got oscillator 1 and 2. 1 is the most complex one, and the 2 is least complex. Is a simple, just choice of a square, sawtooth, and remember the 88 sound is an initial attached. Okay. That's the sound of your, if you go back to this one, listen only to oscillator 1. You get these different options here, all of these. Super saw. That's the sound of, I think, 6 or 7 sawtooth, the volume of each, and the detuning of each. A very massive sound. And this is probably one of the classic sound of the JP-8000, the super saw. And this is why you would like to have the JP-8000. It's this sound. Of course, it was the first time that you would have triangular waveform with an offset. It would actually change the shape. And then you want an LFO on it. Noise with a cutoff and a resonance. And it would follow the keys. So you would have a sine wave, basically. The feedback oscillator has always been one of my favorite. This one, you can select harmonics. You don't hear a lot until you bring the other one, which is the feedback amount. And this is to mimic some older analog synthesizer where you had 2 outputs and an input. You can actually feedback the signal back into it, and you would have that feedback amount and the harmonics. So this is so cool. So great, not something you hear often in a synthesizer. You have the square wave with a pulse modulation in it. It's a sawtooth with a pulse, also with a LFO to change the depth, the shape, and a triangular shape. Now, you could detune the second one if you want. Let's say we're going to go like this. Bring the 2 together. But also what's cool is that you have cross modulation between these two. So between oscillator 2 and 1, you can say the second one I'm going to have. And the cross mod creates that rich, almost FM sounding. And then you've got this thing, which is pretty cool, is the envelope depth. You can actually use an envelope of attack and decay, but you can say, I want to send that to cross modulation depth. So you press that here, and then you're sending this amount of, say we don't. And this is not the filter. This is how much oscillator 2 is modulating oscillator 1. say you just want to hear the first one, you're not listening to the second one anymore. And then you can. So depending on the pitch of the second one, but then the second one can be synced to the first one. And again, it's only 2 oscillators combined with the cross modulation depth. But there's some stuff that don't happen. If you say I want to have feedback on this one, mostly the cross modulation does not work anymore. Because this is already so weird that it's not happening anymore. Okay? So that really is what's very out of this box. Now, this is really the section that is making the JP-8000 stand out. I mean, the rest of it, you've got a filter, a choice of low pass, band pass, high pass, 24, minus 12, minus 24. It's just like everything you expect. You get the key follow, LFO, ADSR envelope, another ADSR envelope for the amplitude. After that, you've got a bass and treble control, a chorus, delay, and if you enter into the submenu by pressing Shift Effects, and you can select different type of effect here by saying I want to have the chorus. Let's say we find something clearer, nice. That's the chorus. No chorus. With the chorus. And change for another one. You can even say by pressing Shift, it's the type of chorus, the type of delay. You want it to be mono short, panning short, left, right. You can have the delay here. And all these other here, you can shift and go into like initialized, and you get different pages. Temporary scope is an interesting one. If you have this, temporary scope is you want to know, let's say you change patches between sounds and you want to know what's the value of this. Of course, the knob is not motorized, so you don't know. If you just move this, you'll see the value here without changing the value. It will show you what it is. So rapidly, you can say, oh, okay, these are the values I've got here. So you can investigate of all the values that make the sound what it is by just moving them. It will show you the value here. The other way is when you move it, let's say you want to cut this, or cut off frequency, when you cut it exactly at the middle value, you press Shift while you move it. It shows you the value. So I want exactly 64. Well, I'm going to go 64. I'm not getting it. Okay. And then again, you get many different separate values here. Now, there's something interesting is you need to understand that the way this works, you've got, well, they've got the upper and lower, these two here, lower and upper. Well, right now I've got everything together. I'm in the single mode, so I'm playing everything at the same time. If I put into dual, when I have two sounds, wait a sec, exit this. I'm going to pick a different sound. I'm going to pick just like, I don't know. This one is obvious. You play on this side. It's in split mode. See here, split mode. On this side, you get the pads. On the right, you get the bass using an arpegiator. Actually, I'm going to turn this off here. You have the arpegiator here running just on the bass, just on the lower keys. And all of this can be controlled here. You see, 6, 2, so 6 notes of polyphony on the high notes, and 2 for the lows. For the bass, only 2. And the split point is G sharp 3. Lower as arpeggiator. If you want to change that, you can say upper only or upper and lower. So the 2 will be affected by it. So very powerful. This was the kind of the best synth you can find for analog sounding synth, subtractive synthesis in the 90s. It was like the top of the line synth for that. There's one thing that is much more powerful than all of that, and it's this thing here, motion control. Motion control, you can actually record any movement of anything here. I'm going to take this one. Okay. What I want to do, I want to move this. But I want this to be recorded. There's no LFO assigned to this. I cannot change that. But I can do motion record. So to record it, record this. And then you move it. And I'm going to stop it. This is moving. And it's going to loop that thing. It's going to loop it. That's it. And you can add another one. So, well, I'm going to go record. I'm going to also change this. I'm going to change this. Change that. Stop. This is pretty cool. It shows you what you can do with that. So it's very interesting. And there's something that a lot of people liked and dislike at the same time, is this thing here. Oops, wait a sec. This thing here. That's the ribbon controller. You can assign to different places. Ribbon assign, you press on it, and you say, I'm going to assign it to, you move the destination fader, and then you release. It's ribbon. I'm going to assign it to cutoff point here. I could probably do a 3-hour bit just on JP-8000. It's just such a powerful synthesizer. It's still today. It does amazing stuff. Of course, it has its own sound like any synthesizer you have out there. And, if you can get your hands on one. Now, I saw the price online. It's kind of crazy. They're about $1,000. These were like $500 or $600 like 2 years ago, I'm guessing, at least in Canada. But yeah, I think that people are rediscovering what these are able to do and the sound that they have, and now people are back into liking these synthesizers. I'm going to try to do some of these videos of vintage stuff. I've got a couple of cool oldies that I can actually whip out and just play with them, so we can just explore the older piece of gear that is still kind of a mystery sometimes, and that you ask what they're able to do and how interesting they might be for today's use. And now I just lost the camera. Bye.